Welcome back. It's time for a tour of this grand building, a great piece of Connecticut history, the Connecticut Supreme Court. We are here with Chief Justice Chase Rogers and Justice Dennis Evely. And I want to ask you, because this painting behind you is just phenomenal, and this is a huge part of Connecticut history. What is it?
Yes, this is a painting of the Fundamental Orders, which is credited as the first written constitution.
The 1600s, correct?
1638 to 1639. This is where we get our nickname, the Constitution State. The painting was made by a pretty famous artist. He painted this painting and the mural above us in his Long Island studio, and then it was transported, the canvas, it's all on canvas, was transported up here and put on the back and the top by white molten lead.
Who's in this painting?
Well, these are members, but of obviously the community at the time. The three principal people, as we face, the person to the right is Thomas Hooker, who's largely was a preacher, a minister at the time, largely responsible for getting everyone together. He was the leader of the meeting itself and responsible for formulating the fundamental orders. The fellow sitting down by the candle is Roger Ludlow. He is the only person who had legal training at the time, and he's credited with writing everything down and putting it in the language. And the person with the hat holding it to his side is John Haynes, who became the first governor.
First governor of Connecticut. There's a Haynes Street in downtown Hartford, as a matter of fact. Chief Justice Rogers, you mentioned earlier in the broadcast that every time you walk in here, you're just inspired. It's hard not to get those goosebumps that you're in this wonderful place. What's your favorite part of this room here?
I will tell you, it's actually the whole view, looking at the lawyers standing here, and just the tradition that you know came before and will come after, and we really are caretakers. That's how I feel about it every time I come out. Some very important cases have been argued here.
It was built in 1910. A lot of Chief Justices came before you and
That's
sat
right.
in this very...
And they're all up
All
here
here.
in the portrait.
We are here in a room that is simply called the hallway. But it's not your ordinary hallway. You have some wonderful old oil paintings here, and this is the longest serving justice in Connecticut history. Tell us about him.
Well, William Maltby was Chief Justice, as you can see, from 1930 to 1950, and served, I think, as an Associate Justice before that time for maybe 4 years.
Wow.
So he is, I believe, the longest serving total justice on the court. We've had some that are close, and Justice Palmer may end up serving longer than him.
He could do that. So Justice Palmer could be the longest serving. And
Justice Palmer could be the longest serving ever.
all right, what's next?
So we're going to go into the attorney conference room where the lawyers wait before their arguments, and just show you that room.
Both sides wait together?
They do.
How does that work out?
I'm not in here with them, but they always seem to behave well when they come out into the courtroom.
This is an amazing room.
It's one of my favorite rooms in the building, so we just wanted to show this to you.
It must be a huge honor to try a case here if you're a regular attorney.
It's
It is.
very exciting.
I can tell you the first time I came up back in the 1970s to argue a case, very nerve-wracking, but it used to be a requirement that when you argued a case, you had to come in this room and check in, and they had a clerk, and you had to check in early in the morning, like 9 o'clock you had to be here, or even 8:30, and you had to stay all day until your case was called. It's a little more relaxed now. They don't technically have to come in the room, although some do. A lot stay in and watch the other arguments. But before, you couldn't leave this room without the permission of the clerk.
Did the lawyers get nervous at all when they were in here?
Oh, I think the lawyers
Yes.
get nervous in here and in there. It's daunting
Yeah.
to have 7 people asking you questions.
So this is where, immediately after there's testimony, you come in here and you talk about it, or?
Well, immediately after the argument, the 2 parties will have argued the case for an hour. We will come back here. We sit, again, by tradition. We each have a seat that we sit in. And what we do is we have a discussion about the case. Sometimes we talk about it quite a bit before we vote, but at the end of the discussion, we take a preliminary vote and see where everybody is.
How often is it unanimous?
What would you say? I would say probably in about half.
I
Half
think
the cases.
50%.
That's pretty good, actually, don't you
Yeah.
think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And sometimes as we said earlier, those discussions continue after the vote, and we can work things out. If we can, we like to reach a consensus. We think that's helpful for the law, that people know exactly what the law is. Sometimes it's very clear we're not going to reach a consensus, and then there's going to be multiple decisions, both on the majority side and the dissent side.
I want to thank you very much for this really interesting excursion to the Connecticut Supreme Court. Chief Justice Chase Rogers and Justice Dennis Evely, thank you so much for being on Face the State.
Thank you for coming.
This Sunday morning. And thank you for watching. We welcome your comments on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or my blog. I'll see you tomorrow on Eyewitness News, beginning at 5.